Imagine sitting by a roaring fire, the wind howling outside, as an old warrior recounts tales of blood, honor, and the birth of a nation. This is the world of Bernard Cornwell's Saxon Stories, a series that brings to life the brutal, thrilling, and deeply human story of England's forging in the 9th and 10th centuries. From a spark of inspiration rooted in Cornwell's own ancestry to the gripping TV adaptation The Last Kingdom, this is a journey of swords, shields, and dreams. Join me as we dive into the life of the man who crafted this saga, the creation of his books, and the magic of bringing Uhtred of Bebbanburg to the screen. Grab your ale, steady your shield, and let's ride into this epic tale. Part 1, Forging the Saga, the story of the book series. Bernard Cornwell, A Warrior's Path to Writing. In 1944, in the midst of World War II, Bernard Cornwell was born in London, England, under circumstances that shaped his life as much as any saga he'd later write. His father was a Canadian airman, his mother a member of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, but Cornwell was adopted by the Wiggins family, members of a strict religious sect in Essex called the Peculiar People. Raised in a world of rigid rules, young Bernard found escape in books, dreaming of adventure far beyond the confines of his upbringing. He later changed his surname to Cornwell, his birth mother's maiden name, a nod to the heritage he'd uncover later in life. Cornwell's journey to becoming a writer was anything but straightforward. After studying history at University College London from 1963 to 1966, he worked as a teacher, but his heart yearned for more. He tried to enlist in the British military 3 times, only to be rejected due to myopia. Undeterred, he joined the BBC, rising to head of current affairs at BBC Northern Ireland. But it was love that changed his course. In his 30s, Cornwell fell for an American woman, Judy, and moved to the US to be with her. Unable to get a work permit, he turned to writing, a decision that would birth some of the most beloved historical fiction of our time. The Saxon Stories were inspired by a deeply personal discovery. At 58, while on a book tour in Vancouver, Cornwell met his birth father, William Uhtred. For the first time, he learned he was a descendant of Uhtred the Bold, a real historical figure from Northumbria. This revelation ignited a lifelong fascination with Anglo-Saxon England, a period he felt was overlooked in British education. "The English don't know where their country came from," he once said in an interview at Emerson College. "Americans have a starting date, but England? It's like it's always been there." This gap in historical awareness, combined with his ancestral connection, became the big story he wanted to tell. Cornwell's own life mirrored his protagonist, Uhtred of Bebbanburg, an outsider caught between worlds, driven by loyalty and a fierce desire to reclaim his birthright. Writing became his shield wall, a way to explore his roots and craft a narrative that was both personal and universal. The creation of the Saxon Stories, a kingdom in the making. The Saxon Stories, also known as the Last Kingdom series, began with The Last Kingdom, published in 2004. Set in the 9th and 10th centuries during the Danish invasions of Britain, the series follows Uhtred of Bebbanburg, a Saxon boy born into Northumbrian nobility, captured and raised by Danes. Torn between his Saxon heritage and Viking upbringing, Uhtred becomes a warrior whose fate intertwines with King Alfred the Great's dream of uniting England. Told in retrospect by an older Uhtred, the series spans 13 novels, each weaving historical events with gripping personal drama. Cornwell's inspiration came from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a historical record of the period, and his fascination with the era's raw, violent energy. He wanted to tell the little story of Uhtred against the big story of England's birth, a nation forged through blood and betrayal. His research was meticulous, drawing on historical sources to depict battles, politics, and daily life, though he took liberties for narrative flair, as noted in the historical notes at the end of each book. Writing the series was no small feat. Cornwell, now living between Cape Cod and Charleston, South Carolina, immersed himself in the Anglo-Saxon world. He crafted Uhtred as a complex figure, brash, loyal, and torn between pagan and Christian worlds, reflecting the cultural clashes of the time. The series grew from The Last Kingdom, 2004, to Warlord, 2020, with each book charting Uhtred's battles, alliances, and quest to reclaim his ancestral home, Bebbanburg. Cornwell's prose, while sometimes criticized for heavy foreshadowing or repetitive passages, is vivid and immersive, with battle scenes that pulse with intensity. The road to publication was smoother than for many authors, thanks to Cornwell's established success with his sharp series. By 2004, he was a literary heavyweight, having sold millions of books, Publishers eagerly embraced The Last Kingdom, and it quickly found a devoted audience. Fans praised its blend of historical accuracy and adventure, comparing it to Game of Thrones, but real. As The Observer noted, the series grew to 13 books, with Cornwell announcing in 2025 a potential new book set around 911 AD, possibly featuring Rollo, the Viking who founded Normandy. Fascinating facts about the books. The Saxon stories are a treasure trove of historical and narrative depth. Here are some intriguing facts that bring the series to life. Historical roots. Uhtred is inspired by Cornwell's ancestor, Uhtred the Bold, a Northumbrian alderman. While the real Uhtred lived later, Cornwell reimagined him as a 9th century warrior, blending fact and fiction. Alfred the Great, Ethelflaed, and other historical figures are meticulously researched, with Cornwell clarifying liberties in his historical notes. Symbolism and themes. Uhtred's dual identity, Saxon by birth, Dane by upbringing, mirrors Cornwell's own journey of discovering his heritage. The series explores loyalty, identity, and the cost of ambition, with Bebbanburg symbolizing Uhtred's unattainable home, much like Cornwell's search for his roots. Deleted or altered plans. Cornwell initially planned a shorter series but extended it due to fan demand and his love for the era. In The Lords of the North, he hinted at continuing the saga, and by 2020, Warlord concluded Uhtred's arc, though he later teased a new book set in France and Italy. Cultural allusions. The series draws heavily on the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, bringing to life events like the Battle of Edington. Cornwell weaves Norse mythology and Christian piety into the narrative, reflecting the era's religious tensions. Uhtred's paganism contrasts with Alfred's devout Christianity, creating a rich dynamic. Little-known details. Cornwell's notebooks are filled with unused ideas, like expanded roles for minor characters such as Finan, Uhtred's Irish companion. He also mapped out detailed battle strategies, ensuring historical plausibility, even if some tactics were fictionalized for drama. The Saxon stories became a cultural touchstone, beloved for their gritty realism and emotional depth. Fans formed reading clubs, debated Uhtred's choices, and celebrated the series' raw portrayal of a formative era. By 2015, Cornwell had sold 30 million books across his works, with the Saxon stories a cornerstone of his legacy. Part 2, From Pages to Screen, The Creation of the Last Kingdom. The BBC and Netflix, bringing Uhtred to life. In 2014, the BBC announced a television adaptation of the Saxon stories, titled The Last Kingdom after the first novel, produced in collaboration with Carnival Films and BBC America, and later Netflix. The series aimed to bring Uhtred's saga to a global audience. Stephen Butchard wrote the scripts, condensing the first 2 novels into an 8-episode first season. Filming began in autumn 2014, with the show premiering on BBC America on October 10, 2015, and BBC Two in the UK on October 22, 2015. Adapting the sprawling series was a monumental task. How do you capture the visceral battles, complex politics, and Uhtred's inner conflict in a visual medium? The production team chose Hungary and the UK for filming, using rugged landscapes and historical sites to recreate 9th century Britain. The show's aesthetic, gritty, muddy, and intense, mirrored Cornwell's prose, aiming to feel like Game of Thrones, but real. Cornwell was involved as a consultant, ensuring historical authenticity while allowing creative liberties. He praised the adaptation's spirit, though he noted in interviews that some changes, like condensing timelines, were necessary for TV. The first 2 seasons were produced by the BBC, with Netflix taking over for seasons 3 through 5, expanding the budget and scope. The series ran for 5 seasons, covering the first 10 novels, and concluded with a feature film, 7 Kings Must Die, in 2023. Casting challenges and actor struggles. Casting Uhtred was the biggest challenge. The producers needed an actor who could embody Uhtred's charisma, ferocity, and vulnerability. Alexander Draymond, a relatively unknown actor at the time, landed the role after a grueling audition process. His German-American background echoed Uhtred's cultural duality, and his intense performance won over fans. "I am Uhtred, son of Uhtred," became a fan-favorite line, delivered with raw conviction. Other key roles, like Alfred, David Dawson, Ethelflaed, Millie Brady, and Finan, Mark Rowley, were cast with care to balance historical gravitas and emotional depth. Filming was physically demanding. Battle scenes required weeks of choreography, with actors training in sword fighting and shield wall tactics. Draymond recalled bruising his ribs during a fight scene in Season 1, yet he pushed through to capture Uhtred's relentless spirit. The young cast, many in their first major roles, faced the pressure of adapting a beloved series. Millie Brady, playing Ethelflaed, admitted to reading the books to understand her character's arc, while David Dawson studied Alfred's historical writings to nail his pious yet strategic demeanor. The production faced logistical hurdles. Filming in Hungary's forests and UK castles meant battling unpredictable weather. Rain turned sets into mud pits, adding authenticity but complicating shoots. Budget constraints in early seasons limited the scale of battles, though Netflix's involvement allowed for grander set pieces later. The actors also aged faster than the story's timeline, requiring clever makeup and costuming to maintain continuity over a decade-long narrative. Magic on the set. The set of The Last Kingdom was a crucible of camaraderie and grit. The cast bonded over long shoots, often joking between takes to lighten the mood. Draymond and Mark Rowley, Finan, became close friends, their off-screen banter mirroring Uhtred and Finan's brotherly dynamic. One memorable moment came during a Season 2 battle scene, when Rowley improvised a cheeky taunt at a Danish warrior, which stayed in the final cut and had the crew in stitches. Funny anecdotes abounded. During a scene in Season 1, a horse bolted mid-take, sending Draymond and co-star Ian Hart, Bianca, scrambling to stay in character while dodging hooves. Eliza Butterworth, who played Elswith, recalled accidentally tripping over her long Saxon dress during a solemn scene, turning it into a moment of laughter on set. David Dawson, as Alfred, was known for his quiet intensity but surprised everyone by leading impromptu sing-alongs during downtime. The production's attention to detail was staggering. Costumes were hand-stitched to reflect Saxon and Dane aesthetics, with real chainmail weighing actors down for authenticity. Sets like Bebenberg, filmed at Bamborough Castle, and Winchester's Royal Hall were built with historical precision, making actors feel transported to the 9th century. The shield wall scenes, a hallmark of the show, were choreographed like dances, with stunt coordinators ensuring every clash felt real. Serendipitous moments. Some moments on set felt destined by fate. In Season 1, a scene where Uhtred first sees Bebenberg was filmed at Bamborough Castle, the real-life inspiration for Uhtred's home. Draymond later said the sight of the castle against the North Sea brought tears to his eyes, a genuine reaction captured on camera. In Season 3, a battle filmed in a Hungarian forest was interrupted by a sudden fog, adding an eerie, almost supernatural atmosphere that director John East kept in the final cut. Another poignant moment came in Season 4, during a scene where Uhtred and Finan mourn a fallen comrade. The actors, exhausted from a long day, tapped into real emotions, creating a raw, heartfelt moment that resonated with fans. Cornwell, visiting the set, was moved by the cast's dedication, saying, "They brought Uhtred to life in ways I never imagined." The actors became their characters. Draymond said Uhtred taught him resilience and loyalty, values he carried off-screen. Brady felt Ethelflaed's strength inspired her to embrace her own confidence. The cast received fan letters, some from history buffs praising the show's accuracy, others from viewers who saw Uhtred's struggles as a mirror to their own. At premieres, fans greeted the cast with Viking-style cheers, forging a bond that echoed the series' themes of unity. Conclusion. The Saxon Stories is more than a book series or TV show, it's a testament to the power of storytelling. Bernard Cornwell, inspired by his own roots, crafted a saga that breathes life into the forgotten birth of England. Through Uhtred's eyes, we see a world of clashing swords, torn loyalties, and the dream of a unified kingdom. The books, with their vivid battles and complex characters, captured hearts worldwide, while The Last Kingdom brought that world to vivid, gritty life. This story reminds us that history isn't just dates and battles, it's people, with their hopes, fears, and dreams. Cornwell gave us Uhtred, a warrior who fights for his home, just as Cornwell fought to tell his story. The cast and crew of The Last Kingdom poured their hearts into every frame, creating a legacy as enduring as Bebenberg's walls. So, tell me, which battle made your heart race? Which character feels like a friend? For me, it's Uhtred, flawed, fierce, and forever chasing his destiny. May the saga of the Saxon stories live on, like a shield wall standing strong. Destiny is all.